Concealed within the East German dense forests lie the eerie remnants of a phantom conflict that never happened. Here, a forgotten Soviet military base, now completely reclaimed by nature, stands as a silent testament to a bygone era. Once, this sprawling complex was a hub where thousands of soldiers honed their tank operating skills. Today we embark on a journey to delve deep into this colossal base and discover the echoes of the Cold War that linger within its forsaken walls. The terrain can be neatly divided into two distinct eras, one dating back to the 1930s, constructed by the Germans, and the other a more recent addition from the 1960s as a result of the Russian use of this base. Our exploration begins with the older structures, easily recognizable by their vivid yellow exteriors. While most of these buildings now stand partially vacant, we heard that the Soviet forces left behind quite a lot. Our search quickly paid off. The initial remnants we uncovered were vintage educational posters detailing the operation of tanks. The history of this base can be traced back to the late 1930s, when Germany, in the midst of military expansion, established facilities like this one. Originally intended for the training of SS soldiers, the base boasted a modern array of amenities upon its opening, including a cinema, a swimming pool, and even a casino. During World War II, the base underwent a transformation, serving as a hub for training tank divisions. Our next stop led us to the canteen, where food was prepared and served, offering further insight into the daily life within this military base. The hall was in a severe state of disrepair, bearing the scars of time and neglect. Once, a large mural graced the walls of this large hall. Most of the damage was inflicted by nature itself, which is preferable to human-caused destruction. We proceed through the corridor to another section, which served as the kitchen. Some equipment still remained, along with beds and a lone pair of shoes. In total, 40,000 soldiers were stationed here, and multiple dining halls were located in the vicinity. This particular hall is one of the oldest and was also utilized by the German army. As we ascend the stairs, our hopes were to uncover more remnants. Indeed, we stumbled upon some intriguing artifacts. With a variety of old posters detailing cooking techniques for meals prepared in the kitchen downstairs. In fact, this base even had its own small farm, which produced food for the soldiers at one point.
Wow, ja, dit is allemaal Russisch hier. Ah ja, hier, van... Hier ook een datum. 78 tot 80. Dus wie weet stond een naam hoor.
So, what happened here? First we need to go back to early 1945. The Allied forces were closing in on Berlin, and the Nazi army was on the brink of defeat. At this base, one last tank regiment remained, with orders to defend Berlin from capture. The regiment managed to reach the outskirts of Berlin and realized it was a lost cause. Now they faced a dilemma: surrender to the Soviets, known for the harsh treatments of Germans, or attempt to break out of the Soviet-occupied zone to reach the Americans. They chose the last option. Just a few days before the end of the war, they reached the Americans. However, they were eventually handed over to the Soviets as prisoners. We continued our journey. Inspecting another yellow-colored barrack, we found the basement. Empty. Except for some old clothing rags. Suddenly we noticed something intriguing. A brightly colored mural depicting sports. The Soviets were renowned for their impressive murals, and this one certainly didn't disappoint. It suggests that this room might have served as a gym at some point. Decay is gradually peeling off the paint, revealing the passage of time. Above, we discovered some sinks in a remarkably good condition. These barracks once accommodated numerous soldiers, mostly on bunk beds. It was also not unusual for entire families, including children, to reside here, necessitating the setup of schools and even kindergartens. In many ways, it was like a small town in its heyday. Our journey took us to the attic. A true glimpse into the past. Military equipment used by the Soviet army was scattered around. Military-grade shovels, clothing, and an array of gas masks, all now reclaimed by nature. These items were part of the standard Soviet kit. Likely from this exact open box. With this remarkable find, we can now delve deeper into the history of this base. After World War II, Germany was divided in two, with the eastern part falling under the Soviet bloc's control. This base, which escaped bombing and remained untouched after the war, was repurposed to house displaced persons. Later, the German base was transformed into a facility to train the new Soviet political class, a necessity for governing the newly established communist East Germany. Eventually, the base reverted to its original military purpose, serving as training grounds for the training of tank operators. Now we are heading to the northern side of the complex, where we could find the old tank repair stations. The forest you can see today was once a road, a testament to the power of nature reclaiming the land. Upon arrival, the more modern architecture was evident. Inside, in addition to storage, we found a shooting range. Finally, we reached an unassuming office block. Which, while less impressive downstairs, held something really special upstairs. Upstairs we encountered a fantastic collection of Soviet art. This room was likely a classroom in the past, with large text, photos and other remnants still adorning the walls, all dating back to the height of the Cold War. The arms race between the United States and the Soviet Union led to massive stockpiles of military equipment. This expensive race was one of the contributing factors to the collapse of the Soviet Union. Pictures of this very base were also depicted, providing a unique glimpse into the history of the fallen Soviet Union. Germany had one of the highest densities of stationed armies. In East Germany alone, 500,000 soldiers were stationed. And the nearby forest witnessed impressive military exercises with thousands of tanks, planes and vehicles. Fortunately, a conflict never broke out. In the next part, let's explore the leisure activities of the complex. The first stop was the swimming pool, which unfortunately had seen better days. Overgrown and resembling a small lake, it was once an Olympic-sized pool that hosted large swimming competitions. The force of nature reclaiming it was a powerful sight. The other significant leisure-related part was the cinema. Dating back to the 1930s, it was one of the more luxurious buildings on the site. In the attic we found remnants of film reels, harkening back to the days when the Soviet film industry was thriving. The cinema itself, however, had succumbed to decay. Let's check out the lobby. When downstairs we entered the cinema. Here the ravage was really visible. The many chairs were all crushed under the weight of the roof. Today a small forest is reclaiming the inside of the cinema. The lobby was stripped largely of its insides. Besides some Russian signs. This impressive mural remained. This really is one of the main highlights of the site. This mural depicts the capabilities of the Soviet army in the usual propaganda kind of way. It really was impressive to see. Weirdly enough, rainbows also were depicted on the mural. On a cold evening, a 19-year-old Kazakh soldier was trained to drive a T-64 tank with its 20-year-old Russian driving instructor. They talked with each other via the telecom. The Kazakh and the Russian had severe communication problems, not because of the intercom, but because the instructor only spoke Russian, while the trainee had difficulties with speaking Russian. The driving instructor ordered the vehicle in first gear and to take a left-right turn, where the bridge led to the nearby practice area. However, the driver got into second gear and drove straight on. The driver instructor knew that they were almost off the perimeter of the barracks and operated an emergency switch to turn off the engine. At this point, the tank had already parked on the railway tracks. The soldiers heard the train coming and fled the vehicle. The force of the impact flipped the 80-ton locomotive and ended up pushing the Soviet tank 130 meters down the track. The 2 train drivers died immediately. 6 passengers were killed and 33 severely injured. These incidents were usually concealed from the public. The train accident, on the other hand, received an unusual amount of reporting through the media of East Germany. This was most likely due to the heightened tensions between East Germany and Russia, due to the relaxation of communist rule on the Russian side. This accident completely divided Russia and East Germany. It's even speculated that this incident partially kickstarted the collapse of the communist rule in East Germany. In an unexpected building, we found the highlight of our exploration. A hall housing a tank simulator, used to train soldiers in escaping a submerged tank. In 1989 the Iron Curtain fell, leading to the reunification of East Germany. 3 years later the Soviet Union collapsed, prompting the departure of the soldiers from bases across Eastern Europe. The old base was returned to Germany, but was eventually abandoned to its lack of utility. Today the base has sat abandoned for over 30 years and is slowly succumbed to demolition. In the future, the entire site will likely be demolished. But until then, this remnant of the Cold War continues to be reclaimed by nature.